All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Conspiracy Social Club, a.k.a. Deep Waters, a.k.a. Highway to the Danger Zone. Touchy subjects.
I forgot about
Yes,
touches.
guys, listen. Thank you for tuning in to the #1 debate show in the world. Listen,
right.
guys, we are putting out 2 new episodes every week. Episodes, video and audio at rockfin.com/Conspiracy Social Club.
2 new episodes every week. Are you
Every
kidding?
week, hammer of gods.
Plus, you get old audio episodes anywhere you get your podcast.
Anywhere you listen to podcasts, you go, hey, dog, listen to me. I got to check this out before I invest in this thing. Listen to old episodes.
Yeah, and believe me, you'll invest.
You'll invest. Greatest
if you like
show
to
of
laugh
all time.
and fucking learn how right I am and how wrong Sam is.
5-star reviews. Give it to us. Love us. Help us get in that top 200 to show everybody what's real. Now, listen, you want to see us live? It's real easy. You want to find out where we're going, where we're going to be, where we're going to be dropping the hammer of the gods at? Just go to BryanCallen.com and SamTripoli.com.
And don't
wait,
be surprised.
there's more.
Yeah. We got merch and more about the show at aka deepwaters.com. You guys like wearing awesome shirts that say aka Deep Waters or whatever. I don't even know what the fuck the merch is. I do know I have one of the shirts and it looks great on my body.
Yeah.
If you want a shirt to look amazing on your body with sick cotton, the kind of cotton you can only find in a very tiny valley in Egypt, picked by the most beautiful women of all time, then then combed with ivory combs. We had to kill elephants for it, but guess what? Worth it when it hits your body. And the stitching, you want to talk about stitching? We had to use very small children because they have tiny fingers. They do get bathroom breaks.
Yeah, so get shirts that we use hot chicks picking cotton, slaughtering elephants, and child labor. Go get it.
But they
now.
are fucking worth it. It's like dipping your torso into a warm fucking bath with some honey mixed in.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
And you want to come see me live? You come to Brea.
Okay.
Improv
and
this Thursday.
We gotta go. Okay. When people ask, is everything a conspiracy? The answer is yes.
Who and what is controlling everything and why? They practice sorcery. I can't argue against magic.
I don't know what it is that we live on, but I believe it's a realm. This realm that we live in is the lowest level of heaven, highest level of hell.
Chicken snake gods and the Anunnaki and sorcery. If Sam says the chicken and snake god is running everything, I'm literally in the world of crazy. I'm winning.
You're losing. Conspiracy Social Club, a.k.a. Deep Waters.
Well,
wow. Here we are. The show's just flying.
Growing.
Episode 30.
Couple things about Patreon here, guys. Just so you know, you're on this Patreon. We're growing, which is very exciting.
We are.
And here's the thing. Here's what you're gonna get. So you're getting Bookless Book Club, and all of those are gonna be here. I might release a couple for the public periodically. For the most part, this is all about you guys. Second of all, you get Conspiracy Social Club. You get 2 episodes. And what we're going to do is, now that I'm starting Big and Hungry with Steve Byrne, the first episode, every time you guys are going to get those episodes early, okay? You're going to get those 1 week early. And we have 2 bonus episodes that only you guys get to see, which are the first 2 bonus episodes that Steve and I did. So we're going to release those January 30, 31st, and then the 1st of February is the first official which will be open to the public, but if you're on Patreon, you get it a week early. It will be the first official Big and Hungry podcast. So we're trying to give you as much as we can. Plus, we're going to be having other interviews besides Smacked, which was your idea, which is awesome.
Yeah, it was.
So we're about to do a Smacked.
About to Smacked. I just had Bryan's always like, dude, we gotta get some conspiracy people on so I can take some big L's. And I'm like, okay, dude, if you want to do it. I'm like, yeah, I love taking L's, Callen. Like, I'm running out of space on my driver's license with all these L's.
No,
so
man.
I'm like, he's like, I'd love to do something about chemtrails because that stuff's bullshit. And it just happened to be out of nowhere that my booker, who I've talked to him.
Yep.
My friend Mark is going to help us book conspiracy theorists on the show.
Great.
And I go, he sent me that this guy did chemtrails. He has a whole movie on chemtrails, and
It's called Frankenskies.
Frankenskies, and he came on the show yesterday. So I asked him to come on. So he's going to join us in a few.
I'm
after
excited.
we have our conversations and our talks.
We're gonna do This Is Smacked. This is
an episode.
These are my
Smacked. This is
favorite
what we debate.
episodes.
Yeah.
We got to get as many of these guys on as we can, or gals on. Yeah.
And you know what, dude? It's like, as long as, my whole thing is like, we can have discussions, we can have fun. So it's all about,
As long as I'm winning.
This
As
is the
long as I'm
comedy
winning.
show, guys, and he's my very good friend, and we're just having fun. So please don't take any of this serious at all in terms of like, oh, it's got heated and it's fine. Like, save that for Twitter and Facebook and all that crap.
As long as I'm winning, that's all that matters. And I am winning, right?
Then it's all over because you're taking L's for days,
No,
dude.
dude,
I
no.
mean, big losses, and hopefully today you can hold your own. I doubt it. If I can see into the future, I think you're going to get annihilated. But I don't know. I always have hope.
Dude, I'm a very, very fucking. What I do is I hold my guns back, and when it's time to bring out I've never really brought out the fucking artillery. I'm hitting you with I'm using a handgun. So it's 30 episodes in, I'm still just using my handgun.
Yeah.
When I need to pull out the helicopter gun shit.
Hand karate.
Oh, dude. When you hear that,
Yeah.
you're going down.
Yeah.
You know
Dude,
what?
I
You
really
panic
want-
though. You panic when I start hitting you with facts.
So me and my buddies have wrote a movie. We talked to this production company. They want to help us make it. But after that, I'm going to make our buddy cop film.
I'm down. I'll write it with you.
I have to
can't
just
wait.
get in a tiny bit better shape. After that, we'll do
No,
it.
it might be funny though if you're just like
What, man dragon, a fat dragon fighting crime?
That's the funniest nickname I've ever heard. Man Dragon and Fat Dragon. We have so many different names for this. Man Dragon and Fat Dragon. The fucking Conspiracy Social Club, aka Deep Waters. Smacked.
Yeah, dude.
Man Dragon, Fat Dragon.
Man dragon, the fat dragon.
The Man Dragon's going to be in Miami, February 4, 5, and 6. And then I jump right over to Zanies in Nashville, February 11, 12, and 13. You got any dates?
Yeah, I'm going to be in Raleigh, North Carolina at
Nice.
Good Nights, February 18th through the 20th. And then I'm going to be in House of Comedy April 20th through the 23rd, I believe. And I'm working on some Austin gigs, just like weekends, and then
I
some
want
in
to come.
Friday.
Let me
We
come
should
to
do
Austin.
it. We'll do it.
Let's do an Austin gig.
Yeah,
together.
let's do it.
Where are you looking?
My Brett Ernst just played this cool. I like as indie as possible, man. I always did a theater out there, and it's just like they take too much. Find a nice place with a nice stage and
just rock and
I
roll.
want to do Doug Stanhope style. I love Doug Stanhope. He's probably the perfect model for what I want to do comedically, and so that's what I'm gonna start doing. Just
I want in. Let's rock
all right,
and roll.
dude. I'm down. I can't wait till Eddie Bravo's back. You know.
I want to tour with you, and I want to tour with Steve Byrne.
Yeah, I would love that. I think we need to do more of those.
I think we'll crush
We need
it.
to shoot some specials too.
I think we'll crush it.
When's the fucking Man Dragon going to shoot a special?
I think actually in Miami this coming weekend.
You're going to shoot a special
February
this
4,
weekend?
5, and 6. I'm gonna have cameras set up, and I'm probably gonna shoot all of them.
All right.
And
I wanted to shoot your
and
special.
then release it. No, don't worry. I'm writing fast. I got a lot of shit to shoot.
I know. There's one thing I like about you. You always have new
I got a lot
material.
of shit to shoot.
You have
I'm
a
always
lot
right.
of different ways to talk
When
about
I
your
wake
body.
up stressed and I can't sleep, my girl's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like,
Is your
"None of it."
dirty talk to her, asking her how good you look fucking?
all the time?
Babe, look at me.
You know what's amazing?
Whoa, look at that ass cheek. It is flexing.
That's what I say.
God damn.
That's what she says, and she sounds like that.
Yeah.
Like that. She sounds like Sam Tripoli. God damn, you're hot. And it's such a turn. I go to talk like Sam.
You like to talk
I
dirty,
go,
Bryan?
I go talk like
Are
Sam.
you
She
dirty
goes,
talker?
She goes, you're taking L's. You're taking L's, Callen. And I'm like,
you seem too
this is so
classy
hot.
for dirty talk.
Me?
Yeah, you seem too classy.
Yeah, I'm not a big dirty talker.
You just like focused.
I'm all sweet and lovey.
Bryan, you look, I bet you fuck like you're trying to detonate a bomb. Just like your tongue's out like this. Yeah.
That's so disgusting.
Like you're just,
No, don't do that.
you're just focusing. You're just focusing.
I'm not a big noise guy.
What are you just looking in
I'm
the eyes?
Yeah,
Are
I'm,
you
inten-
eyes?
I'm just intense. Yeah, I just love it.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not like a dirty talker. I'm not a.
I had a pregnancy
I'm a
fantasy
lovemaker. I'm a
until I got
lovemaker.
somebody pregnant. And I was like, okay, that fantasy's not working.
Is that true? That would turn you
Oh,
on?
yeah, for sure.
Man,
I mean, as you get older, dude, your biological clock's going. You're like, gotta get the bitches pregnant.
No, for
Your
me,
body's just screaming.
When I want to climax, I'm like, start talking like Sam, and she's like, Bryan, you're retarded. You're a fucking idiot. Your head's up your ass. I'm like,
nut.
I
You just feel like somebody's like your nut must be when you take those stress balls, you squeeze it and a dragon comes out, right? Or something.
I wear a stress ball in my rectum.
I bet you wear a fucking nice like cock ring or something.
I wear a cock ring and I wear a butt plug.
I get
and
that.
And you know I'm done when the butt plug's on the floor.
Bryan, there's no way you don't want.
Here comes Ted. Oh, the dog died. I knocked the cat off the fucking counter.
That's fucking great. Bryan, you're so deadly. You're like, your asshole's like a dart gun, right? You can just be like, and just kill something.
It's a fucking balloon knot. And it just fucking goes right back to being a balloon knot.
Jimmy Schubert has the best names for buttholes.
Oh,
Leather Cheerio.
Leather Cheerio, Mud Whistle.
Yeah.
Jimmy Schubert came and did a fucking guest spot on my West Palm Beach.
Oh,
He was there. That fucking guy kills me. He kills me. Got a cat. You got a therapy cat.
Dude, he started touring with Sam Kinison when he's 19 years old.
He's a fucking monster. Jimmy Schubert, to me, I was laughing so fucking hard. I had to get up on stage after him. And he'd do like 10 minutes. I was like, do a half hour. I don't give a fuck.
You're the best, dude. You're
I
one
love
of the
that
nicest guys.
No, but he's
You're one of the nicest guys.
I try, but he's one of the greatest comics. It's like you. It's like if you're on stage or someone like Jimmy Schubert, for me, I go, that's a real comic. And I feel so lucky to be part of a very small fraternity of motherfuckers that can crush a room. Like you can crush any
You're part
room
of a
anywhere.
secret society of
100%. We are. Like guys like you, guys like Jimmy Schubert, like when it's very rare that people can do that. Like that's everybody wants to be like, we're talking about diversity in comedy, all good, dude. Let's see you follow Sam Tripoli or Jimmy Schubert or some of the guys. Let's see. No, and if you can, God bless you.
Diversity has really like made, all the different flavors of comedy somewhat weaponized. But there are so many. Like the problem is you don't need diversity because there's so many great comics out there. Like, dude,
comics were always diverse.
There's black comedians we've never heard of.
Greatest.
That just annihilate rooms. And they're in that tour.
Of course.
They're in that scene.
Lesbian women, like Ellen and they were killers. Ellen was a fucking killer.
Jessica Kershaw.
Killer.
And
Jessica's amazing.
And what the fuck?
There's so many women that
Fortune Finster.
Yeah,
are the two fucking funniest people on the planet.
100%.
Two of the funniest fucking people.
And so but comedy was always that way. Comedy was always misfits.
What they need is
so
diversity for the unfunny. So they could fucking work these people
That's right.
in. Jessica Kershaw, dude, she's been killing forever. And Bill Burr is just so secure in who he is and his comedy talents that he can take somebody like her.
Oh, does he take her on the road?
Well, no, he's blown her up. Like he got her special, all that stuff.
I love her.
That's why
I love Jessica. I love seeing that Jessica is crushing it. I love that woman. I thought she was fucking funny as shit from day one. She's a monster. She kills rooms.
Yeah. Following her is what I call an education.
Yeah, dude, and I'm talking about I've been performing with her and watching her since 1995, 1994. Yeah, since 1918. I mean, for real. So like this is not new for me. When I see somebody like that who's been in that fucking thing doing that in the trenches for that long, I love that shit.
I feel so bad for kids who like think this is going to be a couple year journey. I think one of the last times, I don't even know why, because, you always see people in like their 30s and their 40s commenting on the MTV Movie Awards or Music Awards. You're like, why are you watching that? That's like watching Nickelodeon. Like, if you have kids, there's no reason for you to be watching that. And the same thing is with those music. These artists aren't your artists.
Yeah.
They're not for you. They're meant for, like, your daughter. That age is starting to get into that stuff, man. But I remember it was when One Direction just to come on the scene.
Yeah.
And they just won an award.
Yeah.
And it was this is exactly what is wrong with entertainment right now. And I have no problems with those guys. Like, what are they supposed to do? They auditioned, they got it, they blew up.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a genre for that. There is a market for what they do. Obviously, they blew up. But I remember one of the guys was like, I remember when we started this journey 3 years ago. and I couldn't stop laughing.
Yep.
Like 3 years ago,
Yeah,
your journey.
3 fucking years ago.
3 years ago.
Get in the trenches with me, motherfucker. Start in 1993.
Right?
Yeah, but you know, look, comedy has always been amazing because you are either funny or you are not, and you can't fake it. And comedy doesn't give a shit about what color you are. It doesn't care what your sexuality is. Comedy is comedy. And by the way, if you are marginalized, if you are on the outside looking in, if you are trans, whatever, it's good. That's comedy wants that. That's what comics always were anyway. I mean, comics
that's
were
why I
always that
love
way.
Tim Dillon. He's such a unique
fuck.
thing. But he said the funniest
amazing.
thing ever. I don't remember if I said this podcast before or not, but he really did say, he goes, all comedy was a psyop, he said, that the industry pulled on us.
I agree, because I call it alternative to comedy.
Yeah.
It just is, man.
There used to be a comic book store on Hollywood, and like this place was just churning out TV shows on cable.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck's going on there? So I finally got invited to do a show there. And I walk in, and it's like this back room, and there's 2 rows of lawn chairs. And that was the room that was churning out all these like Adult Swim show and all this like kind of deep on cable.
Same thing in New York.
And it's just like nothing would come of it.
Cool kids. I saw it in New York.
See, Bryan, you were a cool kid.
No, I wasn't. I was never cool in comedy.
You were, dude. You did a lot of great shit.
Yeah, but I never got into.
I was never a cool kid.
I never got into any of the festivals. I wasn't a cool kid. I
You
promise.
never went to Montreal?
Never. I finally did when I was 48, but I was never invited to Montreal. I was never invited to New Faces. I was never the cool kid.
I remember I
promise
showcased
you
for
I never
Montreal one time, and I showed up, and I'm like, why am I going last? And the booker at the time's like, who's gonna follow you? I go, then why am I auditioning?
I know. Well, what about Netflix? I never even got a look. Like, never. That goes all the way back to, but that's okay. It was what it was.
I was on
timing
Netflix.
and shit.
I did gigs that were taken to Netflix. Dude, let me tell you, dude, put out your own shit.
That's it.
And that's the future.
That's it.
No lords.
That's the future.
No masters.
It's the future. It's the future.
Man.
Guys, thanks for watching.
Thank you so much for watching.
Let's get into Smack.
I can't believe I cried. Yeah, let's do Smack, man. You guys are going to love this. I hope I had a great conversation with him, and
Matt
I hope
Landman.
Bryan gives him a chance.
Matt Landman, he is a chemtrail activist.
Yes. Now, if we could just figure out how chemtrails are affecting the trans, we could get your daughter involved.
Let's fucking watch.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
All right, so let's get into it. As you know, this is a special episode we like to do once in a while. We call it Smacked here on the Conspiracy Social Club, aka Deep Waters. That's where
Deep Waters, that's what my mug says.
Yeah, he is deep. So Bryan, who is clueless to the world, loves to have friends and people I respect on the show to discuss with them his ignorance. So today we're going to have a guy who just did tinfoil hat, and Bryan was, hey man, I want to talk to somebody about chemtrails because that's such stupid. And I'm like, okay, I'll find somebody. Then the way it worked out, our guest was on the show and was kind enough to do double down and do a second dipping with me. So he is the director of a movie called Frankenskies, and he has a new movie coming out, which is part 2 to that. Please welcome Matthew Landman. How are you, brother?
Matthew
How
Landman,
are you, Matthew?
Matthew,
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Matthew,
Thanks so much for having me.
you're talking to a guy who just follows what the FAA says, what the Department of the Weather Service says, NASA. I trust all these people. I also believe that Edward Snowden and Joe Rogan did a deep dive into chemtrails and said there was nothing there. So, and I thought this whole thing had been put to bed, but not so, says Matthew Landman. So Matthew, please, first of all, I need to know your background and how you came.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself for those
Yeah.
Who might not know who you are.
Yeah.
Happily, and thanks again for having me on. I'm not a meteorologist. I'm not a weatherman, but I am an activist and a cognitive thinker. And being an activist in this day and age, you have to wear many hats, right? So when it comes to certain things like fluoride in the water, I do a little research and I don't drink that shit. You know what I mean? Because fucks up my head. Some of these things are kind of obvious, but either way, I went to Virginia Tech. I got a degree in business. Then I went to Cal State, got another degree in business, got a master's degree in business, graduated, taught my class. None of that indoctrination bullshit matters when it comes to being a weatherman. But either way, then I went to film school, Cal State, and I got out and I'd worked like 40 jobs. I got a job as a finance analyst. And then I was like, this is totally bogus. Get me out of this office. And I got an opportunity to literally grow potatoes. So I went out in the country and started growing potatoes in Northern California in this beautiful farm right on the coast in Northern California. And this is where the weather patterns come in off the coast. It's called the mouth of the atmospheric river. It comes, these moisture patterns come across right in the top of California all the way up to Seattle. This little this weather pattern comes off the ocean. It's called the atmospheric river, otherwise known as a jet stream. And then this moisture comes off the ocean there and it comes into the United States, and that's where the weather patterns come from. And we're in the midst of a 5-year drought. And I didn't know shit about shit. I thought I knew everything. But my first day on the farm, I learned potatoes grow potatoes. And that blew my mind, bro. And I add this, you guys can take this bit from me, you comedians out there. But seriously, potatoes grow potatoes. I was like 35 years old. I thought I knew everything. And I didn't know that that's what my potatoes were trying to do.
What do you mean they grow potatoes? So they grow potatoes off themselves?
Dude, put a potato in the ground and it's going to grow you a shit ton of potatoes and you can feed yourself. But the powers that be don't want you to know that shit.
No, I mean.
And by the way, I'm a comic. He is a prop comic, so he can't use that joke.
Bring Anthony, potatoes on stage with you next time.
Anthony, his voice is in sync with the sound. Is that okay? When it records, it'll be all okay. So because I read a thing about potatoes. Potatoes are actually in Europe. Once they started planting potatoes, they're not susceptible to a lot of things. That if something grows out of the ground, you can cut them down, you can poison them. But potatoes are really kind of a sneaky crop, right? That you can grow without too many people knowing that they're there, and they're incredibly nutritious. Apparently, you can live, I heard, and to correct me if I'm wrong, on basically potatoes and like cheese, and you could actually live that way, or on milk. I mean, pretty much, because you get all your vitamins from. Definitely, I heard
that's like half the Buffalo Wild Wings menu.
No, I heard yams. I heard yams are like the most nutritious root vegetable, and potatoes, if you eat them with the skin, I think have almost everything you need. I don't know. Anyway,
well, he's got a movie called Potatoes coming out too. We'll have him on another day to talk about that one.
Yes,
Bryan. This is Bryan stalling because he's like, oh, this guy
keep going,
is
keep
intelligent.
Keep going. So potatoes grow potatoes. Yeah.
No, it's really interesting. And what's really cool is I learned about the Incans, Botany of Desire. It's a book and a documentary, whatever. But the Incans, they had all these potatoes growing in the Andes, but they were all toxic. They would literally make you sick. So over generations, they took this abundant resource and they, through selective breeding, they bred the poison out of the potatoes. Thank you, Incans. Now we can have potato chips.
Awesome.
French fries.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I started learning about the ground and growing food and what it takes to grow food and why our soil's mineral deficient. For instance, I learned that it takes nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, NPK, to grow just about anything. And all these foods we have are mineral deficient. Blah 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 blah. I was working on a farm during a catastrophic drought in California. We were about 5 years into a drought, and this one week, my boss hits me up and says, "Get your weather gear on. It's going to be raining for the next week." And I look up the weather and yep, 100% chance of rain for the next week. So I go out there with boots and a rain jacket on and whatnot. And this big black storm cloud comes rolling in off the ocean. I mean, I can hear the waves where I work. Okay. So I see this huge storm cloud coming off. And where I worked, there was very sparse air traffic. I would see about a plane once a day. Okay. And on the edge of this storm pattern, 25 planes showed up and they're zigzagging on the edge of the storm, going every which way, and they're leaving these persistent linear cirrus cloud formations out of the back of these jets. Okay, they're zigzagging the sky. There was a statistically significant uptick. I'm a stats guy, graduated top of my class with my MBA. I'm really into stats and stocks and all this nonsense, or I was when I had a finance background before I put on these other hats and started making movies and whatnot. Okay, when there's no planes in the sky for a year straight, and then all of a sudden there's 25 planes in the sky zigzagging and they happen to be leaving lines out the back, I started to ask questions, but I was still pretty brainwashed. I just tabled the memory. But what happened was that big black storm cloud came overhead. It didn't drop a drop of rain. It was black sky for like 3 days, but no rain fell out. And so I had that memory. A few weeks later, I'm talking to my homie back in DC And we're talking about the kids nowadays don't know nothing about 9/11 or anything. We're just shooting the shit, you know? And he's like, well, at least those kids were, you know, they were 0 years old when 9/11 happened, you know, some of these kids, because I was in the university and these 18-year-olds, they don't know shit, you know, they don't know nothing about nothing. And they're like, oh, there's many sides to each story, because now they have the internet and they don't have common sense. You know what I'm saying? I had a pager when I was 16 years old. I wasn't brainwashed until like everyone else was brainwashed around me. And I paused and tried not to get that smartphone. And then when I finally did, now I'm going backwards in technology, yada, yada, yada. What I witnessed on that day, what I felt like was, because I'm talking to my homie back home, we're talking about 9/11. And he's like, yeah, those poor kids, whatever. But how could you ignore the chemtrails? And I was like, his name was Lorenzo. And I was like, what are you talking about, Lorenzo? What's a chemtrail? And he was like, yo, Matt, you put me onto 9/11. Like, you put me onto all this stuff. You don't know what a chemtrail is? Go look it up, bro. Just Google it. So I went home, I Googled it, and I was like, shit, I saw those lines in the sky that day. But where I lived was very rural. I'm not next to a big-ass airport or anything like that. So I was in a nice spot. You guys in the city, you know, it's a different story because you can always blame LAX or whatever. I was in the middle of nowhere. And what I witnessed was a statistical anomaly. All these planes showed up. And the planes were leaving lines out the back. And that storm cloud didn't drop any rain. So I started watching the sky. I seen planes with no lines all the time. And it seems that when all the planes show up, they're leaving lines together and they might be manipulating the weather. So I really dug into it and made a movie. And the rest is history.
Okay. So would you say overall you believe in most of the mainstream conspiracy theories, 9/11 being an inside job, all that stuff?
That's a great question. And it's very easy to bundle everyone together in the conspiracy world. You know, just because I think one thing doesn't mean that I necessarily believe all of the mainstream quote unquote conspiracies. I made a website called actualactivists.com. I took the main ones that I think, so the answer to your question is yes, pretty much. But I'll tell you, I took the main ones that everyone shits all over and is brainwashed about, and I bundled them together, which was fluoride. These are like the mainstream ones that people ignore that really need to know about, you know, because they're drinking the tap water. Fluoride, vaccines, GMO, and chemtrails. Those are the.
So are you totally anti-vaccine all the way across?
I just want to say something real quick before we start. Yeah. You know, ever since I've been on my journey, I've been a conspiracy theorist my whole life. I say that with a lot of pride. I own the word or the phrase, the label. I've learned that there are degrees, like belts in martial arts. Someone with a black belt in conspiracies doesn't mean he believes everything. It just means he can have a discussion about it without his head exploding and crying about fucking misinformation or disinformation.
Well, that exists though, right? So Matt, yeah,
but here's the thing. Yeah. Because I know what we're going to get into. Mm-hmm. And we could get into the misinformation, disinformation a little later. I don't want to focus on that.
No, we're not going to.
What I want to focus on is what is Matt's research.
Right.
The reason I set that up is because not all conspiracy theorists believe all the same stuff, like Matt said.
Right.
And there's degrees of stuff. And like Eddie Bravo believes in a bunch of stuff that I don't necessarily believe about. But we're best friends and we could go on the road. We could talk to anybody and they'd be like, okay, you believe in that. I don't believe in that.
Okay, but Matt, Sam, hold on. Matt, my concern is that there's so much information out there and there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation, and there are bodies out there that have a lot of power that can manipulate information. And our biggest problem today probably is, just for people like myself and you and Sam and everybody,
not for me.
is that we there's really no platform to go to for truth. So if I said to you, Matt, and I know I'm sure the answer, if I said, Matt, the NASA, the FAA, and all these different government agencies, like the entire Department of Commerce, which is a lot of scientists that predict the weather. You know, one of the cool things is that we can predict the weather, and I rely on that sometimes. Pilots rely on that, and sometimes farmers.
Why do you rely on it?
Farmers certainly rely on it all the time.
Why do you rely on it?
Well, because I can. Because actually,
but why? Why don't you just go outside, see what the weather is?
Because Sam, if I have to plan a wedding or if I have to plan a flight pattern, you use the weather. We do it all the time. We do it all the time, Sam.
You do it. You
plan your flight. Sam, people do it all the time. I do it on my phone. Okay. So if I'm going to do the road somewhere, I'm going to look at my phone and I'm going to see what the weather is that week, so I know what to pack. So my point is that we don't really have, like so as soon as I bring up all these agencies, someone who tends to be conspiratorial minded says all of those people are liars. So now I don't know where to go for the truth, right? So all of them, they go, well, they're all liars. And I go, well, that's almost 100,000 scientists just in one department. So that'd be a really huge coordinated effort. So I wonder if you could speak to that and also speak to why you think, but let's get into really why you believe chemtrails.
Can we
not
start
only,
with that, Brian, and not get into the scientist stuff?
Well,
because
it's really important, Sam. But hold on.
No, yeah, but Matt,
I
want to get into that later.
Yeah,
I would like for
so
him
Matt, why chemtrails?
Why he believes this.
why chemtrails? Like, what do you think is the motivation behind this thing, and where do you think it's actually coming from? Like, where's the root of it?
Okay, get into that. Then we'll discuss the scientist stuff. That's great. But get into your knowledge of what chemtrails are, because everything else is just, it starts to bog down the conversation, and then he's having to answer 18 different things.
Yeah, let him talk.
Okay, Matt, if you could kindly explain to us why you believe chemtrails exist and what chemtrails are, and then we'll get into the rest of it.
There you go.
Okay, so really quick, the answer to your question about all the scientists and the NASA and all this stuff is discernment. And it's easy enough to cultivate discernment when you're not getting brainwashed by the media all the time. It's about like asking your gut and owning that street smarts. You know, if there's a homeless person on the street and he's got a gun and you can see it, are you going to walk right up next to him? Or are you going to maybe turn the corner? You know what I'm saying? You don't have to have NASA tell you that dude's got a pistol and you can see it and he might be desperate. You know what I'm saying? So with that said, to answer your question about vaccines really quick, I'm no scientist, but the ingredients in vaccines are toxic. Do they work as a principle? You know, can you get injected with that same virus and build an immunity? Maybe so. But I'm not trying to be injected with mercury, thimerosal, duck embryos, or any of that shit, or someone else's DNA, or aluminum, and blah blah blah. That's just like let's get that straight. Like there's different levels of it all. And then as far as like, do I believe everything? I've researched every single one of those conspiracies out there because people turn to me just like they do. You know what I'm saying, you guys, and ask you questions. And I gotta have answers all the time. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta have a composed answer to everything you could possibly ask me about moon landing or whatever it's going to be. So the chemtrail thing, all right, my film Frankenskies, it starts with a historical chronological timeline of military, not my footage. I'm not even in the movie hardly. It's not one of these like, look at me, my ego's getting boosted, let me narrate this whole thing. If you watch 20 minutes into the Frankenskies, your jaw will be dropping, like literally you'll be like, oh man, I need to hit Matt up and maybe buy a couple of copies of the DVD. But like, so check it out. It starts. I dare you to watch the movie, bro.
I will. I would have for this. I didn't know you had that. I'm sorry.
It's cool. It's cool. Check it out. Frankenskies.com.
Okay.
So 1920s, the movie is starting, and they're saying we're going to control the weather. 1930s. The movie is still going, and they're talking about it, and they're showing how they're going to aerosolize. First, they use dry ice to seed clouds, and then they use silver. And then by the 30s and 40s, they're like, we own the weather. By the 60s, they're spraying Agent Orange, aerosolized Agent Orange in Vietnam, and they publicly make it flood on the Ho Chi Minh Trail Operation Project Popeye. It's called Popeye. So they learned how to make it flood as a war weapon. This is all history. This is not, I wasn't even born. So this is all just like me putting together historical military footage. And by the mid-60s, when the mid-60s came along, the entire world came together and made a treaty saying they couldn't use weather as a war weapon because they knew that the US was doing it. But the US still did it and still perfected their tools. And now we have side by side this proposed geoengineering, which geoengineering is spraying aluminum from planes that would look like chemtrails if they were real, right? To dim the sun, to save us from global warming, which is a whole nother, like if you want to talk about a conspiracy, let's talk about the ice caps melting and the beach levels going up and Manhattan's underwater, but it's not and whatnot. Like convincing the world that the ice caps are going to put us underwater and that we need to dim the sun. This is like a Simpsons episode.
So you don't believe in climate change or man-made climate change, greenhouse gases?
Anthropogenic climate change, in my opinion, is very fraudulent. But there's a lot of stories in there. Like, let's just back up. Like, because man-made climate change, in my opinion, is chemtrails, bro. They're like spraying aluminum and then superheating the atmosphere to near the temperature of the sun. They're creating heat waves. They have these tools, these resources. They didn't sharpen these tools and pass it on to DARPA. Like, if you just watch Frankenskies, it'll be a different story. So check it out. There's these things called high bypass turbofan jet engines. General Electric came out with them in 1964. Okay, 1964, the engines on the jets started getting outfit with these new engines called high bypass turbofans. And so what these engines are fans. Okay, they're not blowing hot air. They're definitely not steam powered, because I was asking a 5-year-old about what they thought about chemtrails, and they're like, what, that's supposed to be water vapor? What are the planes run on steam, right? And I was like, no, 5-year-old, the planes don't run on steam. It's supposedly producing super hot air up there. And they're like, oh, well, how come it's not always doing that? You know, there's all these questions, right? But if you know about high bypass turbofan jet engines, for instance, they're 2 tons, and now Rolls-Royce makes them, and they're made out of titanium and steel. And on 9/11, a plane hit the Pentagon, and where the windows didn't even break, where these 2-ton titanium and steel engines hit. But that's another story. So either way,
dude, that's another story, dude.
these engines, like say the plane turns on at ground level and someone walks by, are they going to get like blasted by hot air and vaporized? These engines are very fuel efficient. Think about how much fuel they put in these transatlantic flights. These engines are very fuel efficient. They're not combusting and blasting super hot air. That jet wouldn't make it across the United States with that much.
So I hear, I want to stop you for a second before we get too technical, because I totally hear what you're saying. What I would like to get to is, if indeed commercial airplanes are being bootlegged to create chemtrails, to
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
When you look up, Bryan, and you see a plane up there, how do you know if it's a commercial plane or a different plane? You just see what you believe is a plane.
So these are military aircraft or something in
likely drones. NASA has a program called the Charged Aerosol Release Program. There's actually, if you do a little research, there's about 12 ongoing programs that are aerosolizing metals to spray in the clouds, to spray in the sky, to do research, blah, 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 to do whatever they say that they're doing up there. But don't worry, it's all water vapor, unless it's the experiment that they're doing, but you shouldn't be watching that. But juxtaposed, let's just talk about this juxtaposed. They say they're going to geoengineer the planet in the future by spraying aluminum out of planes that'll look like chemtrails.
Well, I would say that there is definitely a lot of scientists that are worried about climate change, and they're doing whatever they're trying to figure out innovative ways to come up with a way to get the carbon out of the atmosphere, as one example, like with, I think, bromine ions, sieves, and different things like that. So so if that's the case, what I'm very confused about is, do you think that, because this is massive efforts and huge government programs, like, so we have, like, if you just look at the Department of Agriculture, which you have the Department of Commerce, you have the Department of Energy, they have a lot of scientists in those places, and they're all working on different projects, right? So fracking, for example, came out of ARPA. DARPA had the GPS, internet, we know all these stories. So we have a lot of different departments and a lot of these scientists, and it's a huge budget. I think it's like one has a $70 million budget, the other one. So are all of these people, are most of these scientists creating fraud? Are they lying? What do you think is actually going on, and how big is this program, do you think? Like, where is this originating? Do you have any idea, if you believe in chemtrails, do you have any idea, like, is this deep state? And if so, what does that mean? Because I'm always confused as where it's coming from.
So there's ongoing programs. One of them is the tropospheric aerosol program from the Department of Energy. So the Department of Energy wanted to figure out what to do with this coal fly ash, this residue left over from burning coal. And it seems like they decided to just aerosolize it and spray it in the skies. But there's public documents. I mean, there's so much resources out there to see. So the commercial planes, not necessarily outfit. There's drones for sure that can spray the skies. And the president of Iran says that the United States is draining the clouds before they get to Iran.
Do you think that's what you saw with that black cloud? Do you think that's what you saw that day?
I saw them spraying aluminum, which dissipates clouds. Yeah. So people that have been really curious, they'll see stuff going on, and if it does rain, they test the rainwater, and that rainwater lines up with patents that go back to the 70s on weather control and weather manipulation. And it's literally aluminum, barium, and strontium, the same constituents that NASA in their CARE program claimed to be making fake clouds with, called noctilucent clouds. So how is it going on? Compartmentalization, indoctrination, need-to-know basis. And they're told that the planet is heating so fast they got to save the world. These people think that they're heroes, the ones behind the scenes controlling the drones.
Who's telling them that? Isn't that a scientific consensus for the most part?
What, that the sea levels are rising so
Well,
fast
yeah,
that
just
we're all
that
gonna be
climate change is actually happening. The debate seems to be not that the climate's warming, but is it man-made? Is it natural? So that seems to be the main debate, right?
Well, that's a good question. Is it man-made? Is it natural? Because I would like to pose that it's not our carbon coming out of our mouths and our SUVs. By the way, what's the #1 greenhouse gas?
I think it's
Water
cows
vapor.
farting.
Water vapor.
It's what is it?
Water vapor.
Cows
is the #1
farting,
greenhouse.
right?
Well, I do
Yeah,
know.
I like that one.
The thing that Matt, the thing is that the major debate, you guys are having a separate debate because the major debate between, say, the right and the left, if you just want to break it up, is that the left says that the man-made greenhouse gases. The right says, okay, fine, that might be true, might not be true, but don't fuck with the economy and start regulating all this stuff. So then there becomes a debate about can regulation and laws cool the planet? Right? So if it is man-made, so the right tends to be like, you can't pass a bunch of laws and regulate and think you're going to cool the planet. And the left says, we're all fucking going to die and all the icebergs melt. So it becomes this ideological battle, right? So they're kind of having their own fight. And both sides actually agree, from what I've read, that the planet is warming at this stage in our epoch. But whether or not that's man-made is almost irrelevant at this point, because there's the debate going on in Congress is really about what laws we're going to pass, the new Green New Deal. That's cost too much. That's fucking bullshit. And so you guys are having actually a completely different debate, which is, hey guys, the government is actually doing all this in secret, right? With chemtrails. Was that fair? Is that a fair assessment?
Well, they're slowly normalizing it and launching it publicly. I mean, they don't just say, hey, we're going to spray it, you're welcome. They're slowly introducing it to us as they do it. You know?
Okay, they being, who's they?
Well, you know, the military industrial complex or something like that. We can back up and talk about global warming, because the consensus that the scientific community says that there is man-made anthropogenic from our carbon emissions. That is not, I've done a lot of research. That is not the consensus. There's a lot of bot people being put on.
Well,
this
there's
list.
there's a lot of times they say that scientists get pressured into. So if you want funding for your project, and there's a political sort of body that's going to give you grants. If you say global warming doesn't exist or that it's not man-made, you're probably not going to get money for your grant, right? So to your point, I think there seems to be a lot of pressure for scientific consensus around a climate change.
This is true.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing? So there was a whole debate. There was a meme that was put out, or a blog that was put out that listed all of the things that climate hysteria people were claiming were about to happen, and exactly 0% of them ended up ever actually happening. And you know, it goes back to this thing, Bryan, that I talk about. It's like you and I and everybody in this room, which there are 40 people that work on this show, okay? 40 people of them, 20 of them are here illegally,
like NASA.
okay?
It's like NASA.
Some of them are interns. Some of them are here not. Okay, anyways, the point is this, is that we've all seen that iceberg fall into the water. Right? Everybody's seen that video. But nobody I've ever met, and I've been around the world, okay? Been around the world. I don't know anyone who has seen that happen in person. Ever.
I know, Sam, but like if we go by everything and you have to see everything in person, then you may as well throw out every history.
No, I'm just asking for one person to see it.
There's a consensus,
One person.
There's
Let's talk about sea level rises. They show the icebergs. They show a polar bear. Mind you, Coca-Cola has this loving polar bears, and we have these emotional heartstrings. They show us a polar bear stranded on this little piece of ice, okay? They tell us sea levels are rising. They give us Water World and all this propaganda. Please, 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 if sea levels are rising, how come I can go to 0 sea level in California?
How come Miami and San Diego
none of us are climate scientists, but I will agree that I think climate change is definitely a political issue. It really is. It's become a very politically charged issue. So one side's
Matt's
pushing
not here, but
pushing
do
theirs.
this real quick because Matt's not here. Matt, you just want a point right
But
there.
wait,
I want to see sea level rise 1 inch before we have to dim our suns because
let's go.
Also, really
one
quick,
block of Miami
really
to
quick.
disappear.
Check it out,
One
you guys.
block.
Check it out. Fill this cup with ice and water. Let it melt. Is there going to be any reaction to is it going to overflow? No, there's
I
we
want
are
to be careful
so
for our,
programmed to-
yeah. I just want to be careful with scientific models here, because again, you're not a scientist. I'm not a
Brian's
scientist.
so worried
you know
about
what I
our
mean?
listeners.
But
Let's be real careful.
No, but I want to stick to this.
'Cause we have to make sure- Brian,
let me go back to this.
Brian, you're so
Wait.
This
Let's
guy's
talk
done all the
about.
research.
Let me go back.
You asked for research. This guy's done it.
Let me go back to this. Let's go back to chemtrails for a sec, because here's the thing. Here's why to me it makes zero sense, and I'll tell you why. The people. Let's just say there's a group of
what makes zero sense.
that there's a group of people. Let's just assume there's a group of people in the deep state, wherever it might be, and they're engineering a way to create chemtrails to do a couple things. I don't know. Either it's to control fertility. Maybe it's to dim the sun, like you said. Maybe it's to warm the planet. Maybe it's to cool the planet. Whatever it might be. But we agree it's probably a nefarious reason, or it's part of a large plan. If it is actually, like, think about this. If you're fucking with the weather and you're creating all this toxins in the air, don't those people in the deep state, don't they have families? Don't they live in the world?
Oh, that's
I've heard
so cute.
100 times. I was waiting for you to say they wouldn't do that to us, because that's the number one line.
Okay.
The number two line is, don't they have families too?
Yeah.
Sorry, but like I've heard that 100 times, and my answer to that is, are you a crazy trillionaire sociopath?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
But so the people doing this, the people that doing this are very wealthy? Like
Brian's like, Brian,
but you gotta give me one
Brian
bad
does
guy.
the whole, I know I'm just a caveman,
but
you do caveman lawyer all the time. You do caveman lawyer.
I'm just a caveman.
I'm just a simple caveman from prehistoric
But I can never get an answer. Like, I want to know what the motivation behind this is, and who is doing it. We don't even have one bad guy.
Can I answer that real quick? Can I answer that?
Well,
No.
I have a really quick answer.
Okay.
They just put water on the stock market as a commodity that can be traded.
Okay.
Do you know about cloud seeding?
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you know that like hydrological power plants are like, they put it in the paper and they go, we're going to fill our dams. This is what we're doing. And ski resorts, they're like, we're going to put some snowpack on here. This is what we're doing.
Yeah, water's becoming I was looking at land in Texas, and the biggest thing is water rights. And what big companies are doing now is sticking a straw down in those aquifers. They're sucking up all the water, and they're going to sell it to various, right? So water is a commodity.
So you answered your own question. Sam, what were you going to say?
No, but that just means that doesn't.
So
Joe
Biden, everybody's all happy about Joe Biden. Joe Biden just got put us back into the Paris Climate Accord, and everyone's like, yay! So what people don't realize is that is not about what that's about. Is making polluters buy credits to if they overpollute. At no point anything in there, if you read the agreement, is it anywhere where they're like, you're going to pull back your polluting?
Have you read the agreement? Have you read the agreement?
I've fucking done research on this like a motherfucker. That's the next guy I'll get on here.
Okay.
Dr. Sheehan.
You don't like trade caps, trade caps?
No, because what you're doing, dude, is you're just simply making people buy more credits for pollution. And to make it work, they doubled the amount of pollution that China could put out. We're not even the number one polluter.
I have a question. I agree we're not. We're not close to the number one polluter.
And do you know who's behind?
I have a question.
The Paris Climate Accord?
Hold on, I have a question.
A little group called the Club of Rome.
Okay, whatever. But I have a question for you.
Here we go.
I have a question. The Club of Rome. I have a question. I think trade caps on pollution are actually a good idea.
No, Brian.
Hold on. Because what the idea would be.
When did raising your hand become a be quiet? Because I've been doing that the whole show.
Because with trade caps, the incentive is if I can under pollute, I can then sell my credits to another country. So the idea behind it was, let's make it profitably less polluting because you can sell your credits over to China.
Cute. Brian,
that is the idea, Sam.
Yeah, but
that is the idea.
Brian, that's like saying that pharmaceutical companies are really trying to cure diseases so they can have somebody for a week, or can they have somebody for the rest of their life?
Pharmaceutical companies are curing disease. My friend right now is alive because of a new drug for her multiple myeloma.
Right.
And my other friend's
the carbon
kids.
thing.
How many people get multiple myeloma? No disrespect to your friend at all.
Yeah.
But how many people have they cured AIDS? No, these guys have to take this drug.
Excuse me. The AIDS, as we made incredible progress on AIDS.
But Bryan,
I'm old enough to remember a lot of people I saw die.
Bryan, I just lost a friend.
I'm sorry that they're not cured. I'm sorry they're not cured. It's a very hard disease.
But the point is this:
protease inhibitors were amazing and are amazing. Talk to AIDS
Bryan,
patients.
but they are clients for life.
Okay, Sam. I agree.
Bryan,
I agree that there's money. There's money in diabetes.
Rich people say cures are bad for business. It's a very famous quote.
Sam,
cures are bad for business.
Yet we are making insane progress. Hepatitis C. Hepatitis C is now curable. That's kind of incredible. Costs $100,000. It's expensive as fuck.
Yeah.
The bigger question is we do have amazing therapies, but they're $1 million. And I agree that it's like, wait a minute. You're spending more on fucking...
How long did we have hepatitis C? That's all I'm saying. How long we have
I'm saying that there's been progress. We're making progress, and thanks to Big Pharma, which operates poorly sometimes, we are making progress.
Dude,
Sam,
if Lex
science
Luthor was real,
science,
you'd be like,
Sam,
he's a nice dresser.
Sam, they're making huge
wears
progress
nice
in childhood
shoes.
cancers. And I know this for a fact in certain cancers as well,
Bryan,
and in things like hepatitis C.
Doctors who cure cancer.
Okay, I can't have that conversation. All right, so that's a whole different thing. Okay, so just the fact that we're coming up with CRISPR-Cas9 and gene manipulation is incredible and is going to push people. We have children now that have spinal bifida-like diseases that are standing and walking thanks to new drugs. Now they're expensive as fuck, but that's a big deal.
There's not advancements.
Okay,
Bryan,
that's what I'm saying.
Nobody's saying that.
Give credit where it's due, though. That is Big Pharma,
right, Bryan. But big pharmaceuticals would rather have a client for life than give you a shot and you're gone in a week.
I'm sure there's an economic incentive to keep people like that on there. Sure,
and that is exactly what the Paris climate change Accord is about.
Matt, we're going totally off subject. Back to chemtrails.
Not really.
Back to chemtrails, buddy. So you believe that what are in chemtrails and what is the end goal? What is the end goal? Hit me with that.
So we were talking about carbon credits and stuff like that. If that actually gets to the level that we are personally impacted, I do not want to live in a world where my smart meter and all these things are measuring how much carbon I emit, and they get to dictate what the price on that shit is. If the price goes up and all of a sudden it's $1,000 per credit or something like that, maybe I won't be able to go to the store next week. Maybe I won't be able to feed my kids. Who's going to be in charge of that? Some new world global
I agree with
regime?
You. I agree with you.
You know, we need our freedoms and we need to know where we stand with things, and we can't let this slippery slope nonsense. That Paris Agreement is total nonsense. Yes, Sam, you know what you're talking about. And okay, so what are chemtrails? Okay.
Actually, I agree with Matt. Matt, I agree. We better be very careful about the laws we pass and the science we base them on, because at the end of the day, you are 100% right. Historically, governments will take, if you give them an inch, they will take 10 miles. We know that. And I think that a healthy distrust and look at Corona. I mean, did you think 9 months from now we'd be having to cover our face and that a president would be talking about mandating a mask and, by the way, stand 6 feet apart? No. If you told me that we would do that for 2 weeks, I laughed about it with Rogan and Schaub. We were laughing about the fact that what if they shut it down? And 9 months later, here we fucking are. So I 100% agree that history would show us that governments will control their people. They will do whatever they can, and it's always in the name of safety. It's always in the name of protecting our own best interests. So
who's our own?
Yeah.
Who's our?
So I'm saying that I agree, Matt, that we have to be very careful about these things. Like when you start putting a meter on, one of the things about Texas is that once they start measuring these aquifers and people have their own wells, you're going to have a water meter on your well and you're going to have to pay for water. Part of that might be because it's scarce, but part of that is also big business. So there's no doubt about that. Do you think? Yeah,
that's not good, right?
Well, it's all part of the economics, but we have to be very careful of it. Do you think do you think there's money in chemtrails? Like, is there money in? Is it your belief that we're trying to make people sick so that so certain companies and corporations can profit off it? What do you think is the motivation?
So the chemtrail conspiracy theorist, as I now have become, has a very big reach of everyone thinks that we assume these certain things, like we're getting sprayed with poisons to make us sick. Okay. I like to stick to the weather modification thing. Let me ask you a question, Bryan. So I was looking through a lot of these old newspaper clippings from the 30s, 40s, 50s, the 50s, and all these newspapers. It says, do you want to vote to see if you get rain? And then they're even seeding the clouds with phosphorus and making nutrients rain down. They're literally using phosphorus to seed the clouds instead of like silver iodide or whatever. Or what's really funny in the film, if you watch Frankenskies, is dry ice. Do you guys know what dry ice is? It's frozen carbon dioxide. That's what's used by the military to seed clouds. Dry ice is being pumped into the atmosphere, which is carbon dioxide, to manipulate the weather. So Bryan, I got a question for you. I see all these newspaper clippings are talking about it's common knowledge that you can seed the rain clouds and whatnot, and the weather management of the United States. And Lyndon B. Johnson says, control the weather, control the world, right after the JFK assassination. So it was common knowledge in my grandparents' generation that you can seed clouds. A lot of people know that you can seed clouds when it comes to skiing or filling a hydro dam. How come the consensus understanding isn't there when it comes to drought? How come these storm clouds go overhead and no one says anything about seeding clouds when in 1914, this guy, Professor Hatfield, he was hired by San Diego to seed clouds. He built a 30-foot tower, sprayed some chemicals in the sky. He flooded and burst the dams, was sued by the city. It's been known for over 100 years you can seed clouds. So how can we possibly talk about drought when we can seed clouds? How come no one ever talks about that?
I don't know. I don't know. No, I know nothing about that. Wait, hold on. Dry ice.
Dry ice is a solid form of carbon dioxide.
Yeah, dry ice is a solid
Hey, dude,
form
you
of carbon
got a
dioxide.
microphone? Congratulations. Look who got a fucking...
Okay, so Matt, yeah, I know about seeding clouds only very, very, very peripherally in terms of like when there's a drought and farmers need to do that. I know that one of the great things about the 20th century, one of the intellectual achievements we've not been given credit for, really, or we don't talk about, is the fact that we've really gotten good at predicting certain weather patterns, like when a huge hurricane's coming, when a tornado's coming. Also, so farmers rely on, from the Department of Agriculture and Department of Commerce, they rely a lot of times on rain patterns, because if you drop fertilizer on a huge area, which is very expensive, if it rains the next day, it gets washed away. So a lot of times, like how much moisture in the ground, they do a lot of infrared imagery that a lot of farmers rely on for when they plant their crops.
Where do you
I know
get
that.
this information? Farmers only?
My question
from
is,
Michael Lewis's
my question
book.
is this: in 1950s,
And farmers.
certain farmers were like, "Oh, I need rain." And the weather management system said, okay, we're going to give you rain by making it rain over there by seeding clouds. That general consciousness, understanding of that information has been swept under the rug with the introduction of the smartphone and the internet and the control of the information. How come the media can blatantly lie to our face and say climate change, drought, severe drought, and farmers lose their land in California and all this stuff? Why? I can go to the farmer's market and interview 100 people and not a single person knows that we can seed clouds. How has this information slipped from the consciousness? Is it purposeful, do you think?
I don't know that we can stop it. So we know droughts have always existed, right? I mean, droughts are droughts. But I don't know that we have the capability to seed enough clouds to stop a drought. A drought's like a huge area, right? Like that, we had major fucking oak trees dying over. Because I remember the drought here in California. So I don't know if we can seed enough.
This one or the 1840s?
Yeah, this one. I don't know if we can seed clouds. Can we?
Yes, we can seed clouds.
Oh, you fucker! That was about me being old.
Ski resorts,
son of a bitch.
Okay, ski resorts do it. Ski resorts do it. Power companies do it. Hydrological dams do it. It's very common knowledge to some people. My question is, how can the media not ever talk about, oh, we're going to fix the drought this way? And when you talk about they predict in the weather forecast of the hurricanes, there's the Hurricane Atmospheric Modification Project. These hurricanes are very nefariously, diabolically controlled, and they're weaperized.
Hurricanes are?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, big time.
This is new. Hold on. So Sam, I thought Sam danced to the chicken snake god to create rain. But wait, are we saying that the fucking government can control hurricanes?
There's a place called Ascension Island. It's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and they have these. If you're familiar with HAARP was this antenna array in Alaska, and they've since abandoned it and passed it on to the university and made smaller versions of it. What it is intersecting radio waves, Tesla technology, to superheat portions of the atmosphere. So if you can superheat portions of the atmosphere by having intersecting radio waves,
I'm already lost. I don't know how to do that. You're talking about radio waves, and when you talk about heating the
This is
atmosphere and
Bryan,
radio
how he
waves.
does
Now I'm
this.
gone. Now I'm
This
like,
is
I
how
don't
he
know.
does it.
I don't know.
I know.
I
I'm
just
just a
think
simple
there've always
caveman.
been tornadoes.
This is
There've always
Bryan.
been hurricanes. There's always been
what about
typhoons,
patents?
right?
We can talk about patents. I'd love to go.
There we
down
go.
this-
Give
this
him
way.
something.
Wait, but I'm saying that
Bryan,
you know
what
you
you're
agree
saying right there.
You agree that historically we've always had
Yeah, but he's
typhoons,
never said we
hurricanes,
did.
and tornadoes.
What you're
right?
doing, Bryan, right now is going, oh, well, I didn't know that, so I don't know it's true.
He's saying that we're creating hurricanes.
He's literally telling
Not
you how
every
they do
single
it. And you're
one,
like, well,
and
I
not
can't
all
do it,
throughout
so it
history.
can't be real.
I mean,
You're
no, he's not telling me how to do
literally
it. He has a story about an island in the Pacific, and they heat up the atmosphere, and there are waves. But I don't think he's a scientist. Now we're like, all
So,
right.
Bryan, I just want to say,
I mean-
what I do, and he does it even to a more extent on specific topics. This is what he does. What you're doing right now is literally going to a surgeon going, just put in a
He's
balloon
not. He
knot.
just told me he's not a scientist or a weather scientist.
No, he's a researcher, though.
Okay.
He does research.
Okay, but I mean, he's talking about the. Okay, so you're saying we actually created hurricanes. This is fascinating.
Yeah, no, one after another, and then we blame climate change, and then we say, hey, we've got a solution. It's taking away your sun. And the big why is because they'll have the boogeyman, these nefarious characters. If they can control who gets sunlight and who does not, they'll be in control of the world. So you asked about chemtrail constituents. Let's talk about that. Okay, there's a document called the Tropospheric Aerosol Program, TAP, released by the Department of Energy in 2001. Okay, if you just type in TAP,
I saw it. I actually saw it.
What's up?
I actually saw that. I did a little research on all this stuff.
Okay, so the Tropospheric Aerosol Program, Department of Energy document, they publicly in the document, they spray grid with drones and planes. They grid over Nashville, Tennessee, like 30 lines, and watch the chemicals mix together in plumes and have ground-based stations and all this money. They spend $5.5 million in 2001 on risk aversion, trying to not be discovered by the public. But either way, the Department of Energy, why would they be behind it, and what is being sprayed? Come to find out, based on research, and I can talk to you about the research and how we got from A to Z, because I've like literally devoted my life to this. I never thought I'd be a chemtrail activist, bro. Like it fell in my lap. I saw that everyone else was doing a shitty job.
Dude,
and
he's like your daughter, trans activist. He's a chemtrail activist.
That's what it is, dude. That's what it fucking is.
So check it out.
The internet.
So the Department of Energy has coal burning power plants that burn coal. And in the smokestacks, they have these filters, right? Where they filter the coal fly ash. And these filters get cleaned out, and they have this sludge that's toxic residue from burning coal. And that sludge is supposed to be put in bladders and buried underground. It's literally put on trains and goes right to Air Force bases. If you follow the money, you can even find the transactions. I've hosted about a dozen conferences. I've hosted 4 global conferences. People come from all over the world to share their research with me. They get on stage and share their research. I'm not the only one with this research.
Oh, Matt, what is the conferences you do? Can you tell them that what are the conferences?
So it's called, well, they were called the Global Chemtrail Summits, and now they're called Global Summit to Stop Geoengineering. So for instance, the last one that I had was in Tucson, because an experiment was being launched to spray aluminum in front of the sun.
By who?
By this guy David Keith out
That's
of
top
Harvard,
secret.
funded by Bill Gates. Okay,
That's
Bill
top.
Gates
That's top secret.
and this guy David Keith. They were to spray publicly this chemical trails from planes, although they're not real, to see which constituents work best to slightly dim the sun. And I went down and had a protest in the conference, and I didn't say, hey, they're spraying this, guys. They've been doing it since the 90s or whatever. I said, hey, Tucson, do you consent to this experiment going on in your city? And there's a big rally, and they moved the experiment to Sweden. Now it's happening this year in Sweden.
But
we can't go to Sweden.
Matt,
because of the lockdown.
Matt, why in the world haven't, I was just thinking this as you were talking, why haven't all the environmental activists who are fucking, pretty intense, Greenpeace, but there's so many different organizations
Greenpeace is on board with geoengineering. I'm glad you mentioned them. They, for 10 years, have been promoting it.
Okay, but there are a lot of environmental activists who are dead set on fucking, climate change, on depleting. And why aren't they following? If this is all true, why aren't they saying shit about it?
You know why?
Why?
Because you're a conspiracy theorist. I'm not going to listen to anything you say now because you said the word chemtrails.
Well, that's not so fair, is it? Because they tend to be. I mean, it's a lot of different
Bryan,
groups of people.
Their business is saving the environment, and
Right.
what this is saying is, oh, what you've been pushing is that this is a man-made thing. Is Different than the man-made you're talking about. It's not human beings farting all day. It is the government fucking lighting up our skies, and that does not fit into their wheelhouse.
Well, a lot of environmental activists are not making money. I know a lot of them, and I have arguments with them, by the way. And a lot of them are just people that are just truly concerned with the environment.
But when you bring up Greenpeace, I mean, if we took I'm not like, listen, I have nothing against Greenpeace. I can't make these statement about Greenpeace, but if we'll take it to another area, which is charitable events, right? We see these people who run these charitable events. CEOs are making $300,000 a year. And the actual amount of money gets down to like 5% that's actually spent on the charitable event.
That's true, but that's true. But wait, Matt, do you think that this is that the mainstream media and the scientific community and the like environmental activists, do you think just ignorant to it? Are they lying? What is your, like, I mean, because we have a lot of investigative journalists and a lot of mainstream media journalists out there who would love to make their name, exposing the Air Force or the military. Why haven't they done it? Why is no one in the mainstream? I can never find any support for this in the mainstream media. Do you think all of them are what? What is it? Why the disconnect?
I definitely think that some people in higher ups are bought and whatnot, but a lot of people, like, look, the control of the information. Before the show started, I sent the producer of the show this article from the Wall Street Journal, came out a few days ago, saying that social media algorithms will dictate how you perceive the world. Okay. And if they don't want you to believe in chemtrails, bro, you're not going to believe in chemtrails. This is, if you're going to do some research, I want to bring you to this. This is 2013 at Johns Hopkins University in Washington, D.C., a civil society meeting. I'm going to pull it up right here so you can see it. A civil society meeting on geoengineering. This one will blow your mind. 2013, civil society actors. So what's a civil society actors? These are non-governmental participants in society that manifest the will of the public, like news people and whatnot. They all came together in 2013 and said, how are we going to convince the public that they need geoengineering? I've got this printed out. This is like a little binder that I bring to all my presentations for people like you. I've got that tropospheric aerosol program printed out. I've got 1960s advisory boards.
But there's so many journalists and so many environmental activists that how the hell would you get, like, you know what I'm saying? That, like, the thing is, there's so many journalists, so many environmental activists, and I only hear a small group of people like yourself who are saying, hey, everybody, chemtrails exist, and everybody else is like, bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
no, you're totally right. The chemtrail space has been very convoluted. It's very difficult, and this is why I got involved. Okay, I was never on this page. I was never an activist or anything like that. But when I saw the degree to which he was being controlled, I have a really, and Sam asked me this yesterday, and I blanked on the question because sometimes I'm like in the middle of something and I get on a tangent. There's a lot of controlled opposition in this space.
A lot of what? A lot of what?
Controlled
opposition in this space.
Yeah. So a lot of disinformation being launched at you guys.
Disinformation agents.
Yeah, whistleblowers that are controlled.
Yeah, like they've called you several times,
that
Bryan.
control the information. Activists that are controlled, that are not who they say they are.
Right.
Okay.
So you guys have been infiltrated. You guys have been infiltrated. Who's making money on this, Matt? Who's making money on chemtrails? Where's the fucking cash in this?
Well, if you can dictate who gets rain and who gets droughted out, and you can gobble up small farms that are droughted and totally bankrupted.
And get drought insurance, maybe. Right?
Well, yeah, right. But now that commoditized weather exists and commoditized water, and they're completely denying the fact that the weather can and is controlled. If you just look at the history, the history is really interesting. But in this meeting, these civil society actors are quoted saying, to introduce geoengineering to the public, first, let's all come out in the media and say that it's a horrible, horrible idea. But then that will open the door for the discussion. So they literally, right after this meeting, they come out and they say, this is a horrible idea. Have you heard of it? It's called geoengineering. Definitely has nothing to do with chemtrails because that's conspiracy. But let's talk about this. Nobody has any family photos from the 80s or 70s with these lines in the sky.
I was alive then, and I remember lines in the sky, Bubba. I mean, I was. I was
well,
alive.
that's okay. So that's just.
But
Dude,
wait.
This guy can't even remember when we agreed to do a show 5 minutes after we agreed to do a show.
That's true.
And this guy's like, the lines in the sky were like coke. I did in high school.
I'm old.
Hey, Bryan.
Yeah.
Bryan, have you ever seen planes in the sky with no lines at all?
Yes.
Nothing.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. So what's going on?
I don't know. That I would imagine condensation, depending on where you are in the atmosphere. That would make sense.
No, nothing. No lines coming out of the back.
Yeah. Sometimes I see that too. Yeah. Yeah.
No, but what's going on?
I don't know. I don't think that every time there are lines coming out of a plane that it's chemtrails. It could be condensation, right? We agree that could be a contrail as opposed to a chemtrail.
Well, no. If you read the Tropospheric Aerosol Program document, they refer to those contrails as precursor gases. I call them primer planes. But anytime you see anything coming out of the back, there's something being added to the atmosphere.
Well, if there's moisture in the atmosphere, isn't there though? If there's moisture in the air and there's heat, doesn't that create condensation?
High bypass turbofan jet engines were introduced in 1964, so the planes were outfitted in the mid 60s to be just blowing, to be fans.
So anytime we see any kind of a trail coming out of a plane, you're contending that that's a chemtrail.
That it's chemicals being added to the atmosphere to mix with other stuff. Yeah, it's a huge program.
Every time.
The vastness. Every single
that must
time.
be but that's a worldwide program then, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's a very big program. Just like, did you know when Bayer was found in court to have tainted Tylenol with AIDS?
Do you know this, Bryan? Have you heard this?
You know
I know
this
that
one?
I know that Tylenol killed some people because it was tainted with cyanide.
No.
Bayer Pharmaceuticals, who bought Monsanto for $66.6 billion. So now Bayer owns Monsanto. Conflict of interest, monopolized, bullshit out the door. So either way, Bayer was found in the court of law that they accidentally tainted Tylenol, over-the-counter drug, with AIDS. Okay,
Anthony, can you look that up?
They were told, pull up the news article. You can find it on my YouTube. Find it on my YouTube while you're at it if you want. Matt Landman.
Are you our stats girl?
YouTube. I love my YouTube.
Matt Landman
so
at YouTube.
No, I mean it's
Bayer Pharmaceutical. Okay, because here's the deal. We put our blind faith and trust in these people, but they lie to us over and over and over and over and over, and then we're like, but they wouldn't do that to us. That's the number one line I hear is they wouldn't do that to us. And then I'm like, do you want me to give you a list of 150,000 fucking examples? And then they're like, conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
Okay. This is real news.
Welcome to this show. This has been every episode.
Bayer went to court, and they were told, oh, you can't sell those. You're giving people AIDS over the counter at $5.95.
I thought AIDS had to be injected into your bloodstream or not.
I don't know how they figured it out.
Well, I mean, you take a Bayer, it goes
Tylenol.
inside you.
Hold.
Okay.
What did they say?
Bayer just paid tens of millions of dollars to end a 3-decade-long scandal in which the company sold HIV-contaminated blood products to hemophilia.
Oh yeah, that. So it wasn't aspirin. So it wasn't Tylenol. They were actually. So what happened was
there's some Tylenol stuff. There's definitely
Tylenol. But so a lot of people did get AIDS through. I actually know somebody who did. I went to college with somebody. So he got a blood transfusion. And he caught AIDS because he had a heart condition. So when he had
my point being is that Bayer was told to dispose of the medication and they just shipped it overseas. They did not dispose of it. And they went ahead and infected a bunch more people because they have the medication to treat those people for life. And there's definitely a Tylenol connection. If you type in Tylenol, Bayer, AIDS, there's some sort of
there were a lot of hemophiliacs that definitely got AIDS because people were selling their plasma and their blood, and some of those men were HIV positive.
When they were told to dispose of the tainted stuff, they did not. And they continued to sell it, giving people AIDS on purpose, knowingly. These are the people that we claim that we trust that are helping out so much, right? So the Department of Energy, same story. All these.
They lost in court, Bryan. It was a court. They were taking the court.
It was settled. Yeah.
Bryan,
but as far as
that is settling.
But the idea that people were
Bryan,
knowingly infecting people.
The article would literally say Bayer admits to nothing wrong, but they set out court due to that.
What I think I can totally see happening is they sell blood, or they put blood into people. All of a sudden, those people come down with AIDS and they go, we got to cover our asses, and then lawyers get involved and everything else.
It was a medication.
And they admit that they did it.
We can look into it further. But Bayer has like Nazi affiliations, all this stuff. What I'm saying is that these.
Bryan, did you just give the sassy gay guy
sorry.
Okay,
did
so
you
back
really
to
just do that?
So
there's such a queen.
They also have great aspirin.
So, Brian, at times, there's people witnessing a statistical uptick of air traffic. All these planes just show up zigzagging the sky, right? Whereas these are these statistical anomalies that people start to ask questions, whereas there's very sparse air traffic over someone's house, and then all of a sudden they'll see all these lines. Have you seen the photos with like 30 lines, and they're all
but those are all chemtrails? You think?
Which ones? The line?
Yeah.
In the sky?
Yeah.
Yes.
So all of them. So this is so we're talking about a major program. We're talking about all these planes have been bootlegged. A lot of them are commercial airliners, right? Would you say?
No, I'm not saying that the airlines have been outfitted. I'm saying that there's so many drones.
But you'd agree that's a huge program. You'd have to have, how many people do you think are working on this chemtrail conspiracy, this chemtrail thing? How many people in the government? I mean, a lot.
So the size of the program, making it unbelievable and making it unfathomable.
It's worldwide.
I run into that all the time.
Yeah, it's worldwide. It's worldwide, obviously, right?
There's plenty of metaphors that I could come up with. Just because it's so big and just because they've hidden it from us doesn't mean. I mean, do you believe the moon landing?
Oh yeah, don't get into that, dude. That's a whole different. But Brian, let me just say this real quick about this whole department. How long did the government deny Area 51? How long? And it wasn't until, and this is one of the last times I was on Rogan. He didn't have me back after this, but it wasn't until employees at Area 51 sued the government.
Yeah. That's fine.
That people had to come out and go, yes, it was.
That's great, Sam. But I'm talking about, sounds like such a massive program, Matt. Like, if you've got this many chemtrails and it's worldwide, so anytime you see a trail coming out of a plane that has nothing to do with a contrail, that's
Brian,
not condensation. That's not condensation.
How many countries are there, Brian?
I don't know.
Like, honestly, how many countries? Let's say there's 300 countries, 400 countries.
But Sam, this is so somebody's coordinating a worldwide nefarious program to pollute or to change the weather. This is
many?
Where is
195? That's 195 governments that could easily be involved with this.
Easily.
How?
Each
one has a department.
Matt, do you think that's true? Do you think that's true?
I definitely know that it's true. And again,
you know that it's true.
These people are compartmentalized. All right, they're on a need-to-know basis. And they think that there is this irreversible climate change
but is it
from themselves. And if you're
that's amazing. That so is this being coordinated from one specific office though? This is incredible. Because this would be a huge, and nobody's really talking about it. The mainstream media is not talking about it. None of the scientists are talking about it.
Why would the mainstream media ever talk about something?
Brian, do you think the media is there to inform?
They're controlled by the same families that control everything.
But all the journalists.
Let's talk about the fact that you can still go to the grocery store to the Walmart and buy Roundup.
Right.
You know, Roundup has been found in the court of law to be carcinogenic, totally poisonous.
Yeah, it works really well. I've used it, but yeah, I agree.
Okay, watch yourself.
But should it be on your food? Do you know why there's genetically modified food? They modify it genetically so that it can withstand being sprayed with the poison. Otherwise, that plant would wither up.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you think that your food should be sprayed with Roundup after it's been found in the court of law?
Again, but you're asking me questions. I don't know anything about growing food or Monsanto. I really don't. I don't know. I want to be careful with what I say about that because I don't know.
What do you mean you want to be careful?
Because I don't know how to grow. I'm not growing.
Why?
Rice.
Why do you got to be? We're dick joke comics on a comedy podcast.
No, because
we can say any retarded shit we want.
We got to feed a lot of people, right? So you know how many people there are trying to get carbohydrates, fat, and
what
protein.
Are we going to be called in front of Congress to testify? Mr. Tripoli, did you in fact say at one moment you'd like to be called the N-word in bed? Shall I read the exact quote that you? I mean, nobody's calling us.
Dude, they're watching us. You guys are telling me they're watching us.
I mean, a lot of people would have to be in on it to have such a toxic chemical very readily accessible on the shelves at the stores, and just if it's not organic, that can get sprayed on your food.
Right.
Is that cool? You know, I mean, it's in our Cheerios, it's in everything now.
But Roundup has been in mainstream media. Roundup, a lot of people agree with you. Roundup is really fucking toxic, and I hear about this all the time. Roundup is like a fucking contentious issue, right? But chemtrails is not. It's been such a well-kept secret. So if this is a worldwide effort, it's got to be being coordinated from one. Do you think it's being coordinated from the United States, from some deep state bureau?
What do you think?
Hold on, let me just hear
Please.
this.
I would
Go
like
for
to
it.
say something.
Well,
real
no,
quick.
I mean, do I know all the answers, first of all?
Okay.
And secondly, if you don't play game with the United States, you get rolled over. So it's just a U.S.-based nefarious...
And Bryan, 5 companies own all the media. It just takes 5 board members, 5 boards going, nobody's talking about this. If you talk about it, you will no longer be working here.
So you think Jake Tapper and all these guys are being told like so he
Bryan,
so
they
you're saying-
just read a monitor. You act like they're doing undercover
what
bullshit.
about investigative journalists? Are they all being bought and sold? Or being told what
if
to do?
if they are on fucking the news, they are bought and sold.
Every one of them.
Nobody gets there that doesn't play ball.
So every one of them might have information, and all of them are being told. Because I think
Bryan,
that'd be news in
there's a
itself.
clip of the woman from ABC News going, they sat on the Jeffrey Epstein story. I had it all. Everything you hear now. I went to them, and they said, no, we're killing this. And it turns out her boss has been to Jeffrey Epstein's island.
Sure, but I'm saying that might be so. But I'm saying that overall to try to control the
But Bryan,
worldwide media seems
also,
almost
Bryan,
impossible.
Bryan, so what happens? People come out, they come forward, and they're like, this is happening. And guess what happens to them?
What?
They fucking either get ridiculed and ran out. That's just what happens. George Webb, I believe is his name. Is that his name? The gentleman who discovered that the CIA was selling crack in ghetto areas, for lack of a word. I'm sorry if anyone's failed by that. Inner cities, right? That guy ended up broke. His wife and family left him, and he committed suicide with 2 shots to the back of his head in a motel.
So the U.S. government is involved in killing its own citizens.
Bryan,
who
are you telling me you don't think the U.S. government kills people?
not Americans?
What?
No, not Americans.
That is
So there's an agency
cute.
that kills people like journalists who talk too much? Give me one.
Dude,
journalist.
Bryan,
Give me one.
who killed JFK, Bryan?
Oh boy,
Who was it?
Oh, boy.
Real quick. Was it one dude?
we don't know.
We
don't
know, dude. We
don't
know. Who do you think it is?
Well, I know you know.
Yeah, thank you.
As far as you're
I want to
concerned,
ring the bell.
as
I
far
just
as you're
want-
concerned, the U.S. government is involved in everything bad, right? And it's been a coordinated effort.
You know what, Bryan? I'm gonna sit there and tell you something. Is that we fucking funded Al
Where are you looking?
Qaeda?
You're
We
looking over
funded
there.
ISIS. We funded the drug fucking cartels. I mean, dude, we've literally Pablo Escobar's own son came out and goes, "My father worked for the CIA."
So everyone in the CIA, the CIA, the FBI, the law enforcement.
I'm gonna say
agencies,
the word you
the
love.
mainstream
Who
media.
do I love?
The
Who do
mainstream
we
media,
love?
Our academic
Jesuits.
Our academic institutions. All of these are being controlled by families.
Jesuits.
The Jesuits.
Jesuits.
I mean,
That might not be his thing, but
talk
that's
about
mine.
giving a lot of credit to a small group
Listen,
of people.
dude.
Holy shit. You
Dude,
guys must think that these
you
people are
crushed so
such-
hard. You crushed so hard today, dude. I told him we'd keep him for an hour. We're at an hour.
Listen,
I don't
Matt,
want to keep
this
him.
has been awesome. I feel like I won. Now here's
No,
the thing.
Bryan, what did you win? She's going to make you sleep on the couch tonight. That's how bad you did tonight. You're sleeping on the couch.
Matt, give us some
Like,
closing. Give us some closing arguments. Educate me and tell me why I'm full of shit.
I want you to please sit down and watch some of the movie Frankenskies.
I'll watch it all.
I can't expect anyone to watch the full film because of people's attention span. I put my heart and soul into it. Please do me a favor. There was a guy, Ted Gunderson. Ted Gunderson was an FBI chief, and he started to blow the whistle on this and child trafficking at the time. He started blowing the whistle on chemtrails. He said he was adamant about it, and then his heart explodes and he just disappeared. Okay, so there are people that speak up. There was an Air Force whistleblower, Christian Megan Edwards. Go for it.
He killed
What's
him.
up,
He
Sam?
killed him.
Well, hey, did you know? Here's an interesting story, and he'll never believe this. Do you know that the only guy on the what was the committee that discussed the JFK assassination? The whatever that committee's called that the government put together to study what happened at the JFK assassination.
The commission, the Warren Commission.
The Warren Commission.
Warren.
Everyone voted that the story was what it was, but one guy voted that he didn't believe the story. That dude one day was driven to the airport and never seen again. Do you know who drove him to the airport?
Jack Ruby.
Bill Clinton.
Come on, Sam. You always get me going, then you fucking drop a name like
Hey,
Bill
dude,
Clinton.
I'll have Ole Demigard on here for you, and he's going to blow you out. No,
Was
dude,
Bill
I know who
Clinton-
I'll get on. I'll
Was
know who
Bill,
I'll
you
get
think
on.
Bill Clinton was a government assassin before he
Bill
became...
Clinton is either a Rockefeller or a Rothschild. Fall back.
Damn.
And he's bisexual like Andy Dick, and Hillary Clinton loves puss, bro.
Fucking
Well, Clinton
Sam,
was definitely
Sam,
Clinton definitely got a lot of that coke into
I
the
like
gas.
Matt, give us more closing shit. I want to hear. Button us up.
Okay,
here.
yeah. So lastly, Bryan, if you were in the know about this nefarious thing and everyone had been silenced, would you risk your career, your family? You know, a lot of people know that these people are silenced and they don't want to put their necks out there. So please check it out, Frankenskies2.com, the movie Climate Chains, The Shackles, because they're convincing us we need geoengineering to dim the sun because supposedly, you know, we're going to be underwater. I still haven't heard anything about these.
Oh, and by the way, what do plants need to produce oxygen?
Carbon
Exactly.
dioxide.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, are you worried about this new sort of big tech censorship that's going on? And do you want to talk a little bit about that? Like the whole Parler thing? It's kind of crazy because I feel like people who are in the QAnon thing, 70,000 of their accounts have been, basically eradicated. And now it seems like if they can do that to QAnon people, couldn't they do that to people like yourself?
Well, they're doing it publicly to normalize the censorship, and it's slow and steady. And they've really been just slowly clamping down. I've noticed on my social media that I'm in an echo chamber. I'll say something, and I'll get the same 500 people. You know, I've got like 60,000 followers on my Facebook, but when I post something, only 100 people will see these certain things. But they love it when it's fear-based, you know. But if I'm trying to be inspirational, no one will see it. There's a definite clamp down. It's slow and steady, and I am concerned about it. And all the truthers are witnessing it one way or another. I actually created a traveling truth library, this box of all these books that I think are going to be censored and whatnot. It's getting shipped around the world. I'd love to send it to you guys eventually. It's got like 50 books in it now.
Dude, we'll
Fahrenheit
put it on the
451,
wall here when we
1984.
finish whatever this
Oh yeah,
is.
we're gonna come up with a whole thing in this situation.
Yeah, dude, you know this is a podcast, so we have to sit in front of
Dude,
books.
we should
That's
call this.
apparently
We
what
should
the
whenever
rule
we
is.
have someone
Cool.
like Matt on, we should have a thing that says "Smacked." Conspiracy Social Club Smacked, because
pull it down,
these are
because
special episodes. We love this shit.
Yeah,
But
Bryan gets
I
smashed.
do want to hear, Bryan, about these sea level rises. Like, I mean, they talk about it all the time. And Al Gore, when he did his hockey stick movie and he got on that big elevator thing and said, these are the rates. And the whole carbon dioxide, that's not even the number one greenhouse gas. Nobody even knows that.
Even Al Gore said that he was shocked at how fast technology is creating energy, like sort of zero carbon energy. So I do think that technology is getting to a point where we are probably going to see things that create zero emissions, and that's pretty cool. But like wind and solar, we already have 35 utility grade companies that actually are creating a lot of wind and solar, to the point where I think natural gas costs $7 a unit, and now solar and wind is like $8. So I do think we're going to see more wind and solar come into play. I think, Matt, a larger part of this is that there are two ideological battlefields going on. One is that I believe in I believe in small government, less regulation, less government oversight, freedom in general. And then there's another side, probably, in line with the administration now, which is, we as government can solve all your problems. We as government can tax you higher, but we're going to take that money and make the world a better place. And there seems to be a real ideological battle. And I feel like big tech, most of the people that fall on the left side of that are in big tech. So it feels like a lot of people, young and old, whether they're conspiracy theorists or not, are sort of having this crazy battle. And so now you have one side of America who's getting self-sufficient, fucking digging wells, buying guns, hunting their own food, growing their own food. And then there's another side that's living in the cities going, it's all about big tech. We're a service industry. Yes to diversity. Yes to the big governments. And it's really interesting to me. And so I feel like we're getting more split. And the
That's
problem
done
is that, and
purposefully.
because of algorithms and the way social media works, you're able to purify your echo chamber, and you're able to kind of create your own communities. And I feel like it's almost like a recipe for civil war or some kind of civil unrest.
Oh, they definitely want us to start fighting each
Yeah.
other. But let me just get this straight. Is there ice caps melting and causing sea levels to rise?
I've heard that. I don't know.
But have you ever been to the beach?
Yes. I was there yesterday. I like to frolic in waves.
Sea levels, have you seen drastic changes in the level of the sea?
I don't measure it, but no, I have not.
So I don't think that these big assumptions, like sea levels are going to rise and New York is going to be underwater, which is propagandized so much in movies and all this stuff that's controlled, and even in the mainstream media that's controlled. I don't think that we have enough reason to play God and dim our sun.
I agree with you, Matt. I agree with that, Matt. I agree with that, and that's a great way to end it. I also really wonder, I always say to people, do you think that we can legislate and regulate our way into a cooler planet, or is technological innovation going to free us? So anybody who thinks you can pass laws to make the world, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you think you can pass a lot of laws and a lot of regulations that are really expensive, and you're going to cool the planet, I feel like we should put our faith in human ingenuity and allow people to invent our way out of this problem, if it is a problem.
Do you guys remember when we were younger and they said we were going to go into an ice age, that we were going to be under miles?
Yes. Yeah. That was
Remember,
that was actually on the front
rain
page.
was coming.
Yeah.
That was science.
Yep.
That was science, was it not?
Yeah, the globe was cooling in the 70s, apparently.
So we were going to go into an ice age and be under a mile of ice, but that didn't scare people enough, right? And they couldn't really reverse engineer that with their chemtrails or whatever. So they flipped the script. If they were wrong about that, then how can they all of a sudden say that we need to be cooling the planet? You're already like jumping the gun by saying like, should we or should we not cool the planet? It's like the conversation shouldn't even be had right now.
Matt being a skeptic. And that's what you need to be as a skeptic before you start signing on to all these fucking laws. Listen, Frankenskies, I'm going to watch this goddamn movie. And if I become a chemtrails activist, I'm going to be knee to knee with you. And guess who's not fucking coming to the thing? Because this guy's a fucking secret shill. And he's got all these conspiracy theories, but I guarantee he's friends with guys at DARPA and at ARPA and at MARPA, wherever the fuck that is.
That's the Muppets.
Dude,
hey,
you're
Matt,
always welcome, man.
Matt, big win today for you.
No, let's not get carried away.
Big win. It's so good when I don't have to take a win because I have so many wins I don't even appreciate them anymore. So it's good to take a day off.
I got smacked, didn't I? Did I get smacked?
Yeah, you got smacked hard.
Hey, if you guys are listening, comment. We're going to read your comments and see who won this. And let's see what happened, okay? Because maybe Matt gave me another shellacking. Every time we have somebody on who's an expert on this stuff, I tend to get shellacked.
Yeah, pretty hard.
Yeah.
Bryan, you were okay, mediocre today, but that's great. Matt, one more time, can you tell them where they can find you?
Please check out actualactivists.com. Please check out Frankenskies.com, Frankenskies2.com, and Matt Landman on Facebook. And then I have an Instagram for my EMF protective clothing line. We didn't get into that at all, but that's a whole nother story. Sparrow, S-P-E-R-O gear. Thanks so much.
Dude, you
hey, it's really nice to meet you, Bryan.
Nice to meet you, brother. Thanks for doing the show, man.
Matt. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, you did a great
Landman.
job.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Great
much.
job.
Greatly
Chemtrails.
appreciate it. All right, guys, thank you so much. You're the best. We'll talk to you soon. Go see Bryan live.
Conspiracy Social Club, the Fat Dragon and the Man Dragon. We're out.
When people ask, is everything a conspiracy? The answer is yes.
Who and what is controlling everything and why? They practice sorcery. I can't argue against magic.
I don't know what it is that we live on, but I believe it's a realm. This realm that we live in is the lowest level of heaven, highest level of hell.
Chicken snake gods and the Anunnaki and sorcery. If Sam says the chicken and snake god is running everything, I'm literally in the world of crazy. I'm winning.
You're losing.
Conspiracy Social Club, a.k.a. Deep Waters.